Right, I think let's make a start. If somebody else still logs in, can you hear me? All okay? Good. Well,
yeah, I can hear you.
Good, great. Well, welcome everyone. A good morning, a good afternoon, and a good evening, depending on where in the world you are. It's lovely to see you, and I do hope that you're going to enjoy this session and the discussions. Just a few housekeeping matters before we start. You will have been muted when you joined, so unmute yourself when you speak, and then mute yourself again after that when you're in the main room, because with so many participants, background noise can be very distracting. If you want to speak, put up the hand on the system. If you click on the participants tag middle bottom of your screen, on the right, a list of participants will open up. And at the bottom right of that is the option to raise or lower your hand. And if that doesn't work, just wave at me and I'll see you. Obviously, when you're in your breakout rooms, you don't have to mute. And then just a final reminder, I am recording the session. Can we start off with a quick round of introductions? But can I just ask the person that's Anne-Marie Townsend, because I don't think that's your actual name.
No, I am Janine Heffley. I have been signed down as my boss by accident, but I'm Janine Heffley. I'm from the city of Lewis, Delaware.
Hi, Janine. Thank you. I just wanted to check because we're going to put you in breakout rooms and we don't want to put you in the wrong one. So thank you very much. Let's start now. I'm just going to start from the left on my screen. So Kelly, just your name, your council you work for, your role, and we'll just do a quick round of introduction. So Kelly, if we can start with you.
Sure. Kelly Freeling. I'm from the city of Iowa City in Iowa. I'm the city clerk here.
Thanks, Kelly. Bonnie?
I'm Bonnie Foster. I'm from Brookings, South Dakota, and I serve as a city clerk.
Thanks, Bonnie. Leanne?
I'm Leanne Klassen. I'm the city clerk for the city of Wayland in Michigan.
Thanks, Leanne. Renee?
I'm Renee Kingston with the city of Camdenton, Missouri. I am the assistant city administrator and city clerk.
Thanks, Renee. We've had Janine. Phil Peacock. Philip.
Afternoon. Philip Peacock, Town Clerk of Huntingdon in Cambridgeshire.
Thanks, Philip. Terry?
Hello, I'm Terry Philpott. I'm the Town Clerk for Ware in Hertfordshire, which is just north of London.
Thanks, Terry. Helen Simons?
Hello, I'm Helen. I'm the Town Clerk at Leigh-on-Sea, which is in Essex, which is east of London.
Thanks, Helen. Steph?
Hi, I'm Steph Bennett. Yeah, I'm west of London in the Ivors, out by Heathrow. COVID hotspot of the UK, I believe we are this week, so not too good here.
Not good at all. Sherelle, South Africa. Sherelle, just unmute yourself. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Good evening, all. I'm Sherelle Jansen van Rensburg, South Africa. I'm from the city of Matlosana in Klerksdorp in the middle of South Africa. I'm this performance management specialist, and I'm from IMASA as well.
Thanks, Sherelle.
Thank you.
Daniel?
Hi, good evening. Daniel Snowden, Deputy Democratic Services Manager at Cambridgeshire County Council in England.
Thanks, Daniel. You just unmute yourself.
Beg your pardon. I'm Hugh Peacock, Chief Executive Officer with Newbury Town Council. Newbury is about 50 miles west of London in the UK.
Thank you. Faye? Faye, we can't hear you. Just unmute yourself. You are unmuted, but we can't hear you. You just want to check your, just try again. whilst Faye's busy with that, let's carry on to Christina. Christina.
Hi, I'm Christina Flynn. I'm the Democratic Services Manager from Perth in Scotland.
Thank you, Christina. Tony.
Tony Russell, Director of Board Services, the Authority Clerk with the San Diego International Airport here in San Diego, California, probably a good 5,000 miles east of London.
Good to see you, Tony.
Thanks.
Bonnie? Bonnie Bush?
Yep, Bonnie Bush from the City of Santa Cruz in California, and I am the City Clerk.
Thanks, Bonnie. Teresa? Terry?
Good. Hello. I'm Terry Donovan from the town of Narragansett, Rhode Island, which is part of New England in the northeast corner of the country.
Hi, Terry. Good to see you. Faye, you want to give it another try and see if we can hear you?
Okay, hopefully.
Yep.
There we go. I am the Deputy Clerk with the City of Durango in Durango, Colorado.
Thank you. Georgia?
Good afternoon. I'm Georgia Elliott, Assistant City Clerk for the City of Coral Springs, Florida, United States of America.
Thanks, Georgia. Good to have you on board. Have we covered everyone? Teresa, yes, we did, do you? Teresa Donovan. Terry, yeah, we did. I think that is everyone in at the moment. We missed 2 more participants, and I'm sure they'll join us shortly. Just to explain the process, we've got approximately an hour. The topic for discussion is the challenges faced, or that could be faced in hosting hybrid meetings. I'm sure most of you will know exactly what those challenges are, and the purpose of this discussion is to actually share with each other the challenges you faced and perhaps the ways in which you overcame that, because that's where the learning lies for all of us. It's interesting that although we are in different countries spread all over the world, some of those challenges will be exactly the same, and the learning part is in how we deal with it. So I hope you're going to enjoy that discussion. When we go into our breakout rooms, you'll be moved over automatically. The session will last for 30 minutes, whereafter you're going to return to the main session. The breakout rooms will close automatically after 30 minutes, and you'll get a warning of 60 seconds to wrap up before that happens. So in your breakout session, explore the topic, agree someone to facilitate the discussion in your group, and also agree who will give feedback when you return to the main session on the key points you discussed. And obviously it can be the same person. If you've exhausted your topic, then you're welcome to discuss any other topic which might be of interest to you. I'm going to join each of the sessions. So please ignore me when I do join you. But when I join you, it will be recording that part of your discussion, and it'll stop recording when I leave your room. If you have a question and I'm not in your room, just use the chat tab at the bottom and I'll pick that up. And then when you return to the main session, I'll ask someone from each of the breakout rooms to give us feedback, and try and keep that to approximately 5 minutes, so we try and stay close to the 1 hour in total. Anyone wants to comment or have a question at this stage? Right, so we're now going to move into the breakout rooms. Enjoy your discussion, and I'll see you back in the main room after that. So enjoy.
Yeah, in this country, in the UK, legislation definitely will need to be amended, changed, introduced. I'm not certain how it is in other parts of the world. What's happening in the United States? Do you set your own legislation in your own areas, or do you have national legislation?
I guess I'll go. So for the City of Santa Cruz in California, our county follows the state guidelines, which at this point, it's at the discretion of the county how they want to hold their meetings. So right now we're strictly virtual still.
That's the same for Michigan in the United States as well. We follow state guidelines and then kind of take it from there. And we are strictly virtual as well.
In Rhode Island, we're pretty much doing it. Each municipality is making those decisions based on what we have for resources and what the limitations on capacity are for our meeting space. So there's general limitations set by the state, and then each community is making its own determination about remote access.
That's actually a good point, because we have our county, we have 5 cities located in our county, and it is dependent on resources, meeting space, whether or not we can accommodate social distancing and whatnot. Our specific city cannot. Our chambers are pretty small, so that's why we're remote. But that is a good point.
Very much how we are. We cannot accommodate social distance meetings, so we all meet remotely. I don't know your first name. It's just on there as C. Flynn. Where are you from and what happens in your location?
I'm from Perth in Scotland. At the moment, we're doing all our meetings virtually. Our council chamber was damaged due to some flooding. But at the moment, what we're currently exploring is putting in some new software to allow us to do hybrid meetings. So to allow us to have people in the chambers and people who live a distance from the council headquarters be able to connect in remotely.
Will that require any legislation through the Scottish Parliament, or does that come under the UK legislation the same as the rest of England and Wales?
I think it might come under some Scottish legislation.
Yes.
Yeah. But we are doing everything virtually just now because obviously the Scottish Government advice is to stay at home.
And what's happening in Cambridge?
Yeah, we're currently meeting 100% virtually, have been since March. So far gone reasonably well. I also work for 2 days a week at a small district council in Lincolnshire. That's where it's been a bit more challenging, mainly around the technology and the demographic of the councillors involved.
Okay, so generally, just looking at the first point, legislation, it's either national legislation or state legislation that needs amending or updating to allow us to move forward with hybrid meetings. Is that the consensus of everyone? Yeah, good. We'll move on to the next point. Do remote meetings encourage more diverse council members? Who wants to kick off on this one?
I think that's yet to be seen for us, because we're supposed to be having elections in May. So whether they're a more diverse group of councillors will stand for election, possibly. We'll have to wait and see on that one, I think.
Okay, elsewhere?
So is the purpose of that question to say, like, if council members are remote, they are more likely to vote differently than if they were in person?
No, I think I think the question is more aimed at, would we get different councillors? At the moment, there's sort of an opinion in the UK that a lot of councillors are retired people because they've got time. Will hybrid meetings allow younger people who can join from home or from work, or parents?
Wow, I feel quite relieved as to how few meetings we have compared to you.
it's a challenge to do minutes because there's so many of them. There's just not enough time in the day to do minutes plus that.
Yeah.
How are you all are still doing in person? How are you doing with that? Do you think there's more or less participation from the public?
I think more. For us, anyway.
Yeah, it's not really changed for us. It's about the same, I think, whether it was physical or remote.
Yeah, same with me. I think the only thing I have noted, and I haven't sort of properly worked it out, I think councillor attendance is better. You know, generally they were quite good. You know, they'd never get to the 6 month rule where they get struck off, but certainly they're coming to more meetings.
And it's certainly more inclusive as well. We have a couple of younger female council members with children, and so they're finding it much easier to work remotely. Definitely, they haven't got to worry about childcare and things like that.
Now, do you broadcast your meetings like we do? Facebook Live, YouTube, and our city channel.
We do. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, and so with the talk of hybrid meetings, trying to figure out something that where you can have the in-person but incorporate the electronic is a little above my technical skills.
Right now we're doing Zoom that are recorded and then they get uploaded to YouTube, to our YouTube channel. We have done in the past when we had our new council members come in July, we had actually a hybrid and we were broadcasting it at the time, at the same time, but I don't have I haven't been in this position that long and I don't have the technical ability to put that all together, so somebody's going to have to teach me before it has to be done.
Yeah. Do you have many people viewing the either the live or the recordings?
I would have to check with our cable. I mean, I've popped on the Facebook Live before, and there's, I don't know, a handful, maybe 10 at any given time. I don't know about like the YouTube channel. I think probably Facebook Live is more popular for people to hop on.
Yeah, I know some of the councils in the UK have done the live broadcast. I haven't done it, but and I haven't been requested to do it, so I'm not going to at the moment.
Same here.
Yeah.
Luckily, we have a cable division that takes care of all that. So.
Right. Yeah.
That's nice. I've looked at some of the times that people have viewed the YouTube later, and it's not a whole lot, but it sure does help with minutes because I can go back and I can, look at what's actually happened and see who actually made the motions. There was an issue last month about a motion, and one of the councilmen said, I voted no for that, and we actually had to go back through the YouTube 4 or 5 times and say, no, you didn't, and it makes it easier for that purpose.
Yeah, definitely.
And do you know, and we stumbled on this just by chance, but if you're using Zoom and you're recording to the web, and I don't know what type of subscription or whatever we have, but you can get transcriptions from Zoom. They're not super accurate, and if too many people have their mics on, it might pick up somebody else's name, but it is handy to go back through those and see what was said for minutes.
For the most part, you can do that with YouTube as well. You can, if down in the buttons on the bottom, one of them is open transcript, and it's a time-stamped transcript where you can see what happened at each minute or second, and that helps too.
So I haven't had any problems with Zoom. I don't know if anybody else has had any problems. No.
We have not experienced any problems to
No.
date.
Yeah.
No problems with Zoom.
No.
Actually quite a number of benefits with Zoom in terms of public engagement, ease of arranging a meeting. Councillors don't have to drive to the town hall and find somewhere to park, and so there's lots of advantages to it, which is why I'd really like to find a workable hybrid solution.
Right. And I think for us, in addition to, you know, broadcasting the meeting via Zoom, we also have what we call City TV, which is on the local city channels. We also broadcast it on our city website. We also have the opportunity for, you know, citizens and residents to listen to it via radio. So we, like I said, provide a number of different ways in which the citizenship can kind of view and participate in the meeting.
Okay, because I've also found that there's more engagement from people that need to lip read, because the Zoom meetings are much easier for them because you haven't got the distance. So there's increased accessibility by having these types of meetings. And I've got one councillor who's so doddery on their old pins. You know, they actually prefer to stay home where they're safer rather than go out to a meeting. And yeah, like Hugh says, have to drive, so better for the environment. So my lot are really looking forward to this, but there are some that want to come into the meeting because they want the old way. They don't like this. So we all think we need hybrids, but we don't know how to deliver it really. I just see TV screens everywhere. Yeah. Has anybody got thoughts on that?
Again, I have to just give credit to our IT department and also our marketing department, because they're the ones that make it appear effortlessly, in the sense that, like I said, marketing, they actually, as a speaker speaking, you're going to see that speaker on the view in the frame. And I think that's what allows us to, you know, really have a very decent meeting.
Georgia, is that a virtual meeting or a hybrid meeting, Georgia?
Oh, so our meeting, as I was explaining, the meeting itself is virtual. It's a virtual meeting via Zoom. However, we live in the state of Florida, and so we have to provide what we call a public access point. The public access point basically is, you know, at City Hall. It's not in our chambers, it's actually in a satellite room, whereas the public has the opportunity to come in, view the meeting, and also participate in public comment, following all safety precautions. I will be honest, we've had very little to none come in, and but nonetheless, it's there for them should they need it.
Yeah.
Well, like Steph, our public have access to the Zoom link and can join and come and go as they wish. And we've seen a few funny people. There's one guy sitting back strumming his guitar on his settee while we were having our meeting.
And they had their dinner, and they opened a bottle of wine. Yeah, we're like entertainment. Okay. Georgia, I'd be really interested, how do you think you're moving to hybrid meetings? Or do your councillors not want to do hybrids?
So I am not at that level of knowing what's going to happen. But I, you know, on a personal basis, I have enjoyed the Zoom meetings. I also reside in the city. So it's just nice to know that you can, you know, click on a link and participate if you're at home, you know, and actually still have an opportunity to voice your opinion on a matter. So, you know, I myself like it, but I don't know exactly if we're going to be moving and gravitating towards hybrid meetings.
Okay.
We don't have an IT department like Steph, but communicating closely. I'm communicating.
Tested. We were trying to move our airport, and it was really contested. And one person wanted to everything they said in the record. Hey, Tom.
Oh, you're supposed to ignore him. Come on.
You're supposed to ignore him? Okay.
Hi, Tony.
Hey.
So I had a question for Cheryl. You talked about, how internet access isn't available all the time in your area. I was talking to somebody last week, and they're actually providing a separate room in their city hall with a computer, and allowing the public to use that computer to access it to listen to the meeting or to participate in the meeting. I'm not quite sure how I feel about that. What do you guys think?
I assume you spoke about reply. Tom, was it reply? But I beg yours?
Pardon me?
Okay. Now, sorry. I didn't get your last part of your question.
How do you feel about that? I mean, is that something that you would consider, like making, putting a computer station up for the public to watch the meeting or participate or email comments or?
No, we do emailing comments, and we do ask for comments to come in. But our biggest problem is the fact that the community cannot really participate because our internet connections are not that strong. You can maybe speak and then it says it's weak and the people are cut off and then they cannot participate. We do have rooms where people can speak, but the problem is if it's not available, and we've got a lot of rural areas around us. So internet access is not always available. So we might make use of our ward committee members, taking the word out to them, but to get them really there to participate is still for us a problem. We do have the libraries that I can use, but with our alert level lockdown, the libraries were closed up to level 2. So you cut out immediately all the public and the people that made use of the computers. So that was a problem for us. And we do have it online, but there's no virtual or webcam on our website of the municipality that they can make use of. I believe they can do it maybe in Durban, in eThekwini, or they can do it in Cape Town. But if you move to as I said, although we are a secondary city, we're still not at the place where Johannesburg or Durban or those places are. So I believe at this stage, Cape Town is okay. They can do it, and eThekwini or Durban can do it. But most of the people that's more to the rural areas, they do not have that access to internet and to for optic fiber. And that makes it difficult for us to cater for those people as well. And that's important to include them in our meetings and have their comments and know what they want. It make it easier, lively, just if you know what they want. Does that answer you? Not really.
Well, yeah, like I say, it just came up at one of the meetings, and I just don't know.
How would that be safe? How are you going to keep them safe from each other if they're all, like, say you had 3 or 4 people who wanted to view it on that computer?
Yeah, I think you have to have separate workstations for every person.
Oh, that's not possible.
And separated by at least 6 feet and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
We don't have that kind of space.
Yeah, that's what we only have space for our employees and councillors, but not for the public.
Yeah.
Our libraries were open for the public with workstations, but it was not open during alert level, so you cannot use it. Up to alert level 2, it was closed.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in theory, it's a good suggestion if the libraries were open, but what she's saying is all the public buildings are closed that you could use the public to come in. So it limited it. One of the things that we've realized and we found when all of this stuff happened is we take for granted or we assume that employees have internet at home and they have computers. Yeah. We found out that a lot of our employees didn't have. Well, I have to raise my hand. My computer wasn't robust enough.
I didn't have
365 on mine and it conked out. Yeah. So I had to get one computer. So we had to put a policy in place to try to determine who was going to pay for what, if we were going to pay for chairs.
We can do our best and we think we may be able to handle a hybrid meeting, but some training or guidance would be useful. Does that sum it up? Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. Anybody else wish to add anything? I take it you want me to present back.
Well, you're taking notes, so.
Tom, I was stitched up here. Well, that concludes those questions. Are there any other points anybody wishes to raise under the topic we've got? No?
No, I think we all answered the questions like really thoroughly. So any questions that I would have had were answered.
Philip, as I said in the initial meeting, if you wanted to go on to another topic or have something else that you'd like to discuss, you're most welcome to do that. We've still got about 6 minutes before it's going to close, so you've got a bit of time.
Thank you, Tom.
I have a question. Has anybody come across the issue of having to fill a vacancy via Zoom?
Covering a vacancy?
Yep, we lost a council member, so we have to fill a vacancy, and we have to do it via Zoom at our council meeting on Monday. So I'm just curious to see if anybody has come across that issue.
I can say yes, we have. We've had a councillor vacancy and we've had staff vacancies, which we've covered via Zoom. The councillors didn't call for an election and it was a co-option. The candidates presented themselves. We used the Zoom poll to do the voting and it went very, very smoothly. And for the staffing,
I'm still catching up. I started in July as the city clerk, and there's still some minutes from earlier in the year that aren't quite done yet, just because there's so much other stuff. It's busy.
But if we did move to hybrid meetings, I mean, we've all said that remote meetings seem to happen more frequently. Do you think there would be that nicer balance that we would go back to perhaps having less meetings then?
That's my hope. That would be exciting. Well, we'll see what happens. I've only been doing this since July, and the meetings are just voluminous. When I initially took the job, I looked back at the number of meetings, and it didn't seem like it was that much in person. But again, they've gotten worse.
That's what they told you at the interview, was it? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I worked for the city before that. I just switched over to this position, so I could see that there weren't quite as many before. And that was my basis for saying, oh, sure, I can do that.
Yeah. So do you think within your councils you will move to hybrid meetings?
I think there's one or two that would want to come in. I think the majority would still want to stay remote, if I'm honest, but we certainly have one that refuses to use Zoom and so only comes in by telephone. And I think he would be particularly keen to get back to a physical meeting.
I think that at this point, nobody's even asking for it. We do have another election in May for two of our 5. So we'll see what happens after that, whether or not, the newer members, if it's.
We all know when you can see someone, you're more engaged. And it's really hard to talk to someone who's just on the phone, but you can't see their face. You can't see if they're enjoying, are they engaged? Did they get what I meant? So we're working through that. And of course, budget always comes down to what kind of money is available for what you can and can't get.
Okay. Can the people that are on the virtual side see the people in the chamber?
Yes, we have one camera set up in the chambers that does a wide angle view of the whole dais where the council sits, so they can.
Okay, and they can see their faces if they're viewing virtually. Yeah, okay. So does that camera then link to a Zoom account?
Yes.
So the people, right, that's really key for us to know. So you've got like the camera in the chamber is one of the dial-ins to the Zoom. Right, okay. So the people on the Zoom call can see the chamber as well.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, maybe that's a big learning point for me and you, Hugh. Have you thought of doing that?
No, I haven't figured out how to do it, and I was wondering at one stage, you can do speaker view on Zoom.
Yeah.
And I was wondering perhaps if there was a screen somewhere in the chamber with Zoom on it and a speaker view, so that people in the chamber could then see just the speaker. They don't need to see all of the other people really. But no, I hadn't thought of a camera linked to Zoom. As I said, I haven't given it too much thought, Steph, because I'm not an IT person, but I'm keeping in touch with the district council to see what solutions they might.
We as well.
Yes.
I don't. Okay, Faye, you're going to report back, nee?
Sure. Why not?
Sure.
I think we're set, Tom.
Yeah, we've done enough of these meetings after a while. It's like you're kind of home, you know.
Yeah.
Well, you were talking about technology, and fortunately, we have a really robust IS department that really helps with our remote connections, and we all have remote laptops, or not all, but a lot. So we're able to work remotely as well as in office. So it's been a nice combination to be able to flip back and forth as we need to, depending on the danger level in the state of Colorado. So.
But I must tell you that if we look back, we have come a long way, and the people who think they don't know anything, I think we're all experts now on computers and how to have meetings. So you've learned quite a lot and in a short time span. No, it's really, we learned a lot.
Yeah.
I think someone
We got the countdown of 1 second, and they're going to kick us out. It looks like. Well, it says for me. There we go.
Let's leave. See ya.
All right, we'll see you on the
Bye. Bye.
Well, it looks like we're all back. I hope you found the discussion useful and interesting. So who's going to give feedback from breakout room 1? I think, Philip, you were the one. There you go, Philip.
Yes, from group 1, we went through the questions as outlined in the invite, and then we did a couple of more at the end. First one on legislation. Generally, it was felt in the UK, national legislation was required, and in the US, state guidelines are being followed, but it does need looking at. And in Scotland, again, it will need the Scottish Parliament to change legislation. On the second item, do remote meetings encourage more diverse council members? Yet to be seen, as we haven't had any elections as such. There is no issues in the US with members. In the UK, it's felt, yes, there are a lot of retired people who are councillors, and it will give the opportunity for younger people to join if they've got young families or working and can join from their work. Question 3, what happens to public participation? Generally, it was felt across all of us that the public was still attending. Those who wanted to attend and had something to say joined the meetings. There are probably less of those who just came to sit and listen and say nothing. They just turned up because that's what they did on that evening or for that meeting. The other items were technology was an issue with public joining if they hadn't got the technology to join, but we were attracting a broader audience from people who now had the opportunity to be there. Some had their meetings with a live broadcast, but they did ask in advance that those who wished to speak said let them, the organisers, know. And those which streamed the meetings found they were getting more hits for people joining that. The challenges for a hybrid meeting: resource, staffing, AV equipment, budgets, and we did discuss security, but generally it was not deemed to be an issue. The 5th item was technical skills. We were all thrown in at the deep end, no matter where we were. We all started from zero. From practice, we got there, we muddled our way through. It took time, but we're there now. Training would have been useful, and it may be useful just to dot the I's and cross the T's now. And we will do our best to manage hybrid meetings. The other items we did look at were filling councillor and staff vacancies via Zoom and how they'd worked, and generally it was successful. And the final item we discussed were legal issues, people taking oaths or legal documents being signed, and if they were recorded, that was deemed sufficient to meet the legal requirements for those items. And that's the result of the Group 1 jury.
Thanks, Philip. Any comments or questions from the other members in room 1, or questions to Phil and the team? If not, breakout room 2, who's going to give feedback?
That's me, Tom. We were a bit naughty, actually. We didn't even refer to those questions, but I think we have kind of covered in our discussion.
Helen, sorry, can I just interrupt you? Those questions, they weren't really questions. You were welcome to use that. I just gave a few examples of the sort of things you might want to discuss. So don't worry if you haven't answered the questions. They weren't questions, but just a prompt for discussion. So okay. Over to you.
All right, well, I'll just go through some of the points that we were chatting about, really, that we had felt that remote meetings had meant that meetings were happening far more frequently. And it was hoped that maybe if we moved to hybrids, that wouldn't happen so much. But the good thing about remote meetings was it was really good with the diversity. We felt that more councillors had been attending remote meetings, and certainly when you have, as in my case, in my council, some younger members of council that have got families, it helped with the childcare issues. They were able to attend meetings much more frequently. Obviously, the major issue for us, or the challenge, is the technical issues. Janine in our room had held a hybrid meeting in her city council, but felt that the technology was sort of pretty much above her head, and they needed, a lot of assistance. So moving forward would need lots of training on something like that. And Terry that had also attended a hybrid meeting, and he felt that those that had been in the meeting had better engagement physically rather than those that were being remotely attending. So that might be a challenge in making everybody feel included. And we did discuss about public participation. Kind of had felt that with remote meetings, the public participation, they felt more confident to perhaps not behave as well as they would if they were attending physically. So that was one of the challenges we felt, that how were you going to manage the meetings better. Yeah. And also the connection issues. There's always connection issues remotely, but we just felt that actually if you are in a meeting room as well, there is extra noise maybe coming from that meeting room, and how would that impact on those attending remotely? Just trying to think if there's anything else. And no, I mean, I think that's pretty much it. I don't know if any of the others can think of anything that I might have missed off.
Okay. Doesn't look like it. Any questions to Helen or the team? Or
I would just like to comment on the meetings. Thank you. I notice on our end, we are having a lot more meetings. And I think part of it is that for the participants, not only for the council members, but for the public, but certainly the council members, it's virtually effortless for them. They're doing this from the comfort of their homes, and they don't seem to have an appreciation for the organization that's involved, in addition to all the usual regulatory requirements, putting a meeting together and the follow-up afterwards. But I would say in our experience, we're having more meetings more frequently. And I think that this format lends an ease to it for the people that are involved in the meeting, not the clerks, not the information technology staff, but for the council members and the public.
Thanks for that, Terry. Right. Anybody from room 3 who's going to give feedback from breakout room 3?
I don't mind, I'll do it. Yeah.
Thanks,
I haven't got any memory group 3, so please shout at me. Can I just say all of the above? Yeah, everything has been mentioned. We were a lovely group. We were really, really lovely. I think we gained a lot of comfort from each other. But what was really clear is we've all got different resources. But even though we've got different resources, we're all doing the best we can. And yes, there's a lot more meetings, and yes, there's a lot more calls on us. Some of us haven't got the backup from an IT department. One of us had a most fantastic IT department and have offered to share all the introductory stuff with those of us that we didn't have it. So we felt that was really, really useful. So I think the key that came out of our meeting, apart from all of the above, is this is the best support for us, is learning from the others, what others have managed to do. And if we can relate to the same amount of resource, we can do that, we will all gain a benefit from us. And for the record, I am absolutely exhausted with the number of Zoom calls that I'm asked to coordinate and to monitor. I've had people having their dinner, opening bottles of wine. But can I add that one of my colleagues, whose husband is a farmer, was doing a Zoom call, and he came home from harvesting not knowing the Zoom call was on, and took off all his clothes to put them in the washing machine before he entered the room, where all the councillors then said, "Good evening, John. Is it a good harvest?" So there's the other thing, things can go horribly wrong as well. So I hope I've captured our group 3, which was a lovely group, but please butt in if I've missed something important. Yeah.
Lovely, Steph, thanks. Anybody from group 3 that wants to add? Well, you can't beat that story, I'm sure. Lovely, thanks, Steph. Breakout room 4. Who's going to give feedback?
Yes, that would be me. I was voluntold.
Hi, Faye.
Here. So we didn't discuss the first couple of questions about legislation and diverse counselors, although here in Colorado, we are collecting candidate information now for our election, and it seems like we have a lot of younger candidates this time around, which may be in part due to the remote meetings and their kind of more active participation. So but as far as the group, we are all dealing with exactly the same things, you know, more frequent meetings, learning on the fly, trying to figure things out, trying to plan for these hybrid meetings and figure out how to make all the technology work with streaming and in our case, broadcasting. But definitely, you know, like one of the other speakers said, that, you know, it's a team effort. I mean, if we didn't have a really strong IT department and we had a lot of support from the technology side of it and the moderating, the meeting side of it from our public information office, our social engagement office. So we've got a lot of support there, but without that kind of support, it's tough. Cheryl mentioned that in her area, there just isn't a lot of internet connection. It's a lot of rural areas, a lot of poverty areas that they just don't have those connections. It's not even available. So, you know, we discussed kind of how maybe to get around some of that, but didn't really come up with any really good answers there. Let's see, and then we talked about, of course, the technology skills, both for the clerks as well as the counselors. And that was about it, unless somebody wants to jump in and add something else.
Tony, saw your hand. Oh, anybody else want to add to what Faye said? Right, well, doesn't look like it. Something that's come up, and it's been really interesting throughout all these discussions, how similar the issues are, the challenges are that people face. And technology seems to be quite a big issue, especially for smaller councils. Some of you in bigger councils have got an IT department and the technology is there and people know what they're doing. But if you're on your own or you're in a smaller council, it becomes much more of a challenge. And so that's been a common thread throughout all the discussions. Also the issue about members, how do they behave? Do they behave differently when they're in a Zoom meeting as to when they're physically in a meeting, and things like that. I had a call from a software company that supports one of the associations here in the UK, and they wanted to join one of these discussions for reasons of they trying to put together a virtual meeting platform and want to understand what some of the challenges are. And I said to them, no, I can't allow that at this stage, but I just wanted to know from you, if we had something like that and perhaps put together a panel of these people, would you be interested in listening to what they say, how they suggest things can be done? Would that be of any use? I see some heads nodding. Hugh?
Tom, did you say they were talking to you about virtual meetings?
A platform for virtual meetings. Now, I'm not quite sure what they mean by that. I mean, we've got Zoom, we've got Teams, and different platforms already in existence. But whether this would actually support a hybrid situation, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I was going to say virtual meetings, I think, are for us are pretty straightforward now. Is the hybrid is the problem and how we manage or deliver that.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was interesting in one of the groups, the discussion was how do they deal with, they had members of the public coming in and they had a camera that was linked into Zoom, which recorded the whole group of members so that members of the public could actually see as if in a council chamber. And it's different ways in which one tries to deal with that. Now, I just wanted to run that past you because I just felt I wasn't quite sure that was appropriate. I didn't think they would be able to add that much. So I said no, but I'll try and find out more. And perhaps if there's something that comes up, we can try and arrange a webinar and people can just link in if they're interested in that. Well, I think that brings us to the end of the discussions. Thank you very much for participating. As I said, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. We're going to run a few more sessions and then we'll start looking at different topics, and that might be of interest to you. So I will send you a short survey tomorrow. If you wouldn't mind filling that in, that gives me the opportunity to see what we can do better. And I will also send you a YouTube link for the recording of your discussions today. So thank you very much. Goodbye to all of you and stay safe. And hope if you have many virtual or hybrid meetings, you'll come back if you've solved all the problems and come and tell us all about that. Take care and very good to see all of you.
Thank you,
Tom.
Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.